Hi everyone, it's Paola. Welcome back to my channel. This is an art and graphic design channel if you're not aware, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, follow me on Instagram. Also, consider becoming a patron. That's all in the link in the description. Look at me, knocking everything out in the first 2 seconds. Let's go. So for today's video, I thought it would be really cool and helpful for you guys to know the steps of creating a logo and kind of give you a whole breakdown of the steps you can follow to make it happen. So this example that I'm going to use as my concept for the video, the inspiration for the video, was because I did a rebranding project, which might be doing another one coming up soon, but I did a rebranding project in school, and that was creating a whole new logo and a whole new feel for a brand. So I'm going to show you the creative brief that we actually got in our class because I thought it was the most helpful thing ever, but it's not just specifically for rebranding. It can also be used just to follow the steps to create something new and go through like a whole criteria and everything that you need to do when you're creating a branding project or whatever. So that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to show you, and hopefully this will help you along your way if you are a little bit lost when creating logos or designing a brand. So if you're doing a rebranding project, which is always a fun project that I encourage anybody to do, because what's the harm in practicing or doing it for fun or doing it for like a work thing? It can be for your portfolio. You can use it for whatever. So if you want to do a rebrand, this is where I started. I narrowed it down to 3 brands that I was going to decide between. I ended up doing American Ballet Theater, and that's what I'm going to show you the rebrand I did. Mind you, this was my graphic design 2 class, so let's not get too judgy about the look of it. I still like the project a lot, but yeah, this was a long time ago. So if you're going to redesign a brand, do a little bit of research. And if you're doing a logo for a brand that's like needing branding, a new logo, whatever it is, also do research into what you're going to be doing. What's the vibe? What's their stance? What's their personal morals as a company? Look into everything and just get every single detail that you can. There's nothing that's too much. Like, just learn everything that they've put out there about their brand, or if you're, working with a client or something, ask as many questions as possible. You want to know everything that you possibly can about what this is and what they stand for, what they're all about. In doing that, it's helpful to know the target audience that you are creating for, and also to know what visual direction you're going in anyway, because, knowing what the brand's all about and what it's for, that obviously will help you in your visual aspects. So within the brand research for the redesign, I did a lot of research into what visual aspects they already had. So I was looking into things like marketing tools, brochures, their online presence, and what their social media looked like. I looked into all of that, and you can do research into something that is more similar, like other brands that you feel like are similar, have a similar vibe, or the vibe you're wanting to create if you're not doing a rebranding project, but just doing as much research as possible into all aspects of what this thing is that you're creating is gonna help you so much. So as you can see here, a lot of my criticism was that it looked outdated, and actually American Ballet Theater has rebranded since I even did this project, and they do so much better stuff now. Like, they needed it. But I think it is really important to think about all these aspects, even if it's not already existing. If you're creating something new, it's important to think about all of this, like events, if they have events, if they're going to have marketing, if they're going to use social media, if they are going to have a website that has to have a certain look. It's really important to think about the cohesiveness of the entire company and what that is actually representing. You don't want to be mismatching just because you didn't think of one aspect of it, or who the target audience is, or whatever. You don't want to not think about something. So just think about everything that you possibly can. No stone left unturned, is that the saying? So this is where it's a little bit less specific to rebrand or new brand, but if you're creating something, creating a logo, branding something, you want to start by doing a word map. I know I said start by research, but really, a word map is going to help you along the way. Specifically in my rebranding, I started thinking of a word map because it was thinking about what direction I was taking in it now. So it kind of was the difference. But a word map is going to help you if you're starting something new, because it's going to help you figure out what, I keep saying the word vibe, aesthetic, what you're going toward. Like, are you going toward trendy? Are you going toward modern? Are you going toward classic? Are you going toward simplified? Are you going toward, like, these words that I used, dynamic, elegant? Because, the one I did was about ballet. So I was thinking about movement. I was also thinking about the classical aspect of ballet and the elegance of dancers. And so I went in that direction, so just make a word map. You don't even have to do it like this, but if you just write it all out in a notebook or whatever, sketch it out, write out as many words as come to mind for you for the brand that you're creating. So this is where we get into logo design. So hopefully you've done a lot of research at this point and you are really attentive and you know exactly the direction that you're going to take this, whether it be a new brand or a rebrand. So hopefully you have some ideas. I mean, this is where all your ideation comes out. So it doesn't have to be perfect. This literally is a lot. When I was in this class doing this creative brief, we had to fill in the entire creative brief because that was part of the grade, and I was struggling so much. I was like, how am I going to fill in this many logos? Like, how am I going to create this many ideas? Because I knew I wanted to do it type-based, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love type-based logos, but what I'm saying is I didn't know what I was going to do because I was like, how many variations of type can I do? Which you can do tons. I was panicking. But yeah, so it was a lot at first, a little overwhelming, thinking what direction do I want to take this in, but this is the place to figure it out. This is the place where there's no bad ideas and you can create as much as you want, especially if you're making something for you or you're making something for a client. This is a great way to get started. You don't have to show this process to the client. Like, this isn't the 3 that you show them as options. This is where you start, you begin, and you create something amazing. And you'll get there. So go through bad ones, go through all different types of crazy logo options, things that you think are ridiculous and you regret immediately after you make them, but who cares? This is the process. So as you can see, I started in black and white. Starting your logo in black and white is so important. Do not start adding color. Do not even think about that yet. Just start plain, flat logo, because this is where you need to see how things look small scale, how they look blown up, how they look just flat on with one color. Is it good enough? And that's like a real question. You know, color can't be the only thing that saves your logo. It can't be the only aspect of the logo that's interesting. So you have to start thinking in black and white terms, literally. So as you can see here, I really went in a lot of different directions. I went with a lot of like modern. I went with a little bit more classic. I went with something like big, bright, bold, bright in black and white, but bold. And then stuff that was like really skinny and like kind of modern and very different vibes from this, very different. But I was trying a lot of things, and I think that this was a really good direction to get started in to figure out what I wanted to do actually with this rebrand. So round 2 is taking your top 4 choices from that, and there might be more, there might be less, but maybe try to narrow it down to 4 and just expand on those. Even if you have less, try to pick one that you don't like and expand upon it and see what you can create. So from the 4 that I picked, I made 3 more variations, and you could see there was a whole different direction that it started going in just because my mind started like switching things up. And I even made something that was a little bit different than even the original 12, but that's fine. This is the process. You're just following the process, and this can work completely in a rebranding, but it can also work completely in creating something new, because this is all from your brain that you're creating on your computer or wherever, and you're figuring it out. This could all be done in sketching too. Like, this is an ideation phase. Don't overthink it yet. So then from those, you narrow it down even more, and then you pick your 2 favorites and you create more options from those. As you can see, the logo was developing out, the one that I actually ended up with. I was trying to capture movement. I was trying to use type because it was a type-based logo that I was rebranding, and I just wanted to keep that integrity. But yeah, I kept in the whole like elements of ballet and movement and style, and kept in the classic elegance of dance, which I think really translated, at least to the best of my abilities at the time. And then I picked my favorite, and I went with 6 different color schemes. And we actually were learning about Pantone colors at the time, which I could make a video about. I don't know a ton about, but I could make a video about it. I could try. Also, sorry about the lighting change. The sun is literally setting. But for the color scheme, I really wanted to keep it natural and also elements of ballet, like light pink, these purples that you see in ballet. I mean, kind of like tights, things like that. I was a ballerina, so I felt like it was colors that I equate with ballet. But yeah, I went into that direction. I didn't want to do something bold and crazy, and I didn't really want it to keep it like black and gray. That just seemed a little too simplified for me. I wanted to do something a little bit brighter because it was a rebrand for me, so wanted to do something more exciting. So then from there, you can basically go into your branding aspects. You can have a whole section, a whole book on colors and what color schemes go together and what colors you're actually using within the brand. So you can pick your colors, and these are the logo variations. Maybe there's 1 or 2 variations of the logo, and you also want to show it in black because that shows how it's going to look if it needs to be in that flat, easy based way. You also want to show aspects of your logo that can show up in different ways, different marketing, whatever, across all platforms. So I had ways that it was type and ways that it was just the symbol, and it could still mean the American Ballet Theater if you just saw the symbol. So I had a lot of different logo variations, and that's really important to show, especially if you're working for a client and creating something new. Show how it's going to be used and the colors and everything and all aspects of the logo. And then you can go into what the brand's typography is going to be. So what kind of stuff are they going to use for the heading? What kind of fonts are they going to use for the description text? When it's in paragraph text form, what kind of type are they going to be using? So that is a really good thing to include. It doesn't necessarily go with the logo, but it goes with branding a project. And this is a really important step if you're creating a brand or whatever. So yeah, pay attention to the type and what type choices you're using, what sizes you're using, and you can all include that in a book like this that's really helpful and you can always go back to for the brand. I then included images that I was going to be using. Of course, if you're not rebranding, you're not going to have the images, but this was like the style. At least maybe you could make like a mood board or a kind of style for the brand of what their choices are going to be and what their style is going to be moving forward. So from there, that was my entire rebranding experience of American Ballet Theater, but this is also the creation of the logo and the brand and the variations of everything. And this is something that I always go back to in creating a logo. I always go back to this sort of system of like starting big and then narrowing it down. And that's a really, really good way to learn things, and I'm so glad I have this brief. But yeah, you can totally make this brief for yourself or follow along on your own. You don't have to like do it within a template. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful for you guys. It was really helpful for me when I learned it, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this as much as I do. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and let me know if you want to know more about like logo design or working with clients and stuff like that. And of course, like freelancing stuff. I have a playlist for my freelance series. I'll link that. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, let me know and let me know what else you want to see. I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye. Get ready for my next rebranding project. I'm so excited, but I'm so overwhelmed. No, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be fine.